What if the shrub you bought at the garden center 3 years ago, the one the label said was perfect for a sunny border, is now illegal to sell in 8 states? 20 of these plants are prohibited somewhere in America. Some carry fines. A few are genuine federal crimes. And one of them is sitting in a seed packet in your shed right now, sold to you legally by a catalog that should have known better. Here is the truth most people never hear. Illegal almost never means what you assume it means. For most of this list, it means you cannot buy it or sell it, not that you have to dig up the one already growing by your fence. Nobody ever taught you that these rules follow the plant, not the gardener. The law does not care what the label said, it cares what is in the ground, so find out what you are growing. 20. Butterfly bush. The arching shrub with the long purple cones, sold in every garden center in the country, with a picture of a monarch on the label and the word pollinator printed underneath. Here is why it is on a list. One plant produces enormous quantities of seed. It blows into disturbed ground, and it establishes along riverbanks and roadsides where nothing native can get a foothold afterward. Oregon classified it as a noxious weed. What actually happens to you is nothing at all. Oregon permits approved sterile cultivars, so the trade adapted rather than ended. If you have the old seeding kind, nobody is coming. But you are also not getting the butterfly garden the label promised, because it feeds adult butterflies and supports no caterpillars whatsoever. 19. English ivy. The dark glossy climber on the north wall, planted deliberately by somebody who wanted the house to look older than it was. Here is why it is on a list. It does not stop. It climbs into canopies, adds enormous weight to a tree, holds moisture against the trunk, and shades out the leaves until the tree comes down in a storm. Oregon prohibited the sale of the common types. What actually happens to you is a decision, not a fine. It is your wall and your tree. 18. Norway maple. The Broad Street tree planted across America after the elms died, with leaves that look almost exactly like a sugar maple. Here is why it is on a list. It casts shade so dense that nothing grows under it, including its own competition, and it seeds into woodland by the thousand. Massachusetts and New Hampshire prohibit it, and other states have followed. What actually happens to you is that you cannot buy one, and if you already have one, you keep it. Here is how to tell what you own. Snap a leaf stem. Norway maple bleeds, milky white sap in seconds. Sugar maple runs clear. Number 17. Burning bush. The hedge shrub nobody looks at for 11 months, and then October arrives, and it turns a fluorescent red you can see from the road. Euonymus alatus. It was planted across America for exactly that fortnight. Here is why it is on a list. Birds eat the fruit and drop the seed in woodland, where it forms a dense low thicket that shades out tree seedlings and native shrubs before they ever get going. Massachusetts and New Hampshire prohibit it, and Missouri included it in the same bill that banned the Callery pear. What actually happens to you is nothing. These are sales bans with long phase-in dates, written deliberately to give nurseries time to clear stock. The shrub by your drive stays where it is. Number 16. Japanese barberry. The low, thorny hedge with small oval leaves, sold in deep burgundy and lime green, planted under windows because deer will not go near it. Prohibited in New York, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. Here is why it is on a list, and this one is not really about the plant. Barberry grows in dense thickets that hold humidity near the ground all summer, and research has linked those thickets to higher densities of black-legged ticks, the ones that carry Lyme disease. It also invades woodland hard on its own account. What actually happens to you is that you can no longer buy the seeding types. Several states permit approved low-fertility cultivars instead, so the plant did not disappear from the trade. It got replaced by a sterile version of itself. 15. Running bamboo. The green screen somebody planted along a fence line to block a neighbor's window, 20 feet tall inside 4 years. Here is why it is on a list. Running types spread by rhizome underground, not by seed, and those rhizomes travel under fences, under patios, and up through the gaps in a foundation. And this is the one item so far where something really does happen to you. New Jersey included it in its ban, and towns across the country have written bamboo ordinances that make you liable when yours crosses the property line. Not a sales rule, a bill for your neighbor's driveway. Number 14. Purple loosestrife. The tall magenta spires standing in the wet ground at the bottom of the garden or along the ditch by the road, flowering hard through July and August. It was sold as an ornamental for damp borders for well over a century. Here is why it is on a list. A single mature plant can produce more than 1 million seeds in a season, and in a wetland, it does not join the community, it replaces it. Cattails go, the native sedges go, and what is left is a solid stand of one plant that waterfowl cannot nest in and muskrats will not eat. It is prohibited in the great majority of states. What actually happens to you depends on your state, and this is one where it can be more than a sales ban. On a noxious weed list, a landowner can be ordered to control it. And there is a detail worth knowing if somebody tells you theirs is fine. Cultivars were sold for years as sterile. They were not reliably sterile. They cross with the wild plants and with each other, and that is part of how it spread as far as it did. 13. Water hyacinth. The floating rosette on the pond surface, glossy round leaves on swollen bulbous stalks, throwing up a lavender flower that genuinely looks like an orchid. Sold as a pond plant for decades because it is beautiful and because it clears the water. Here is why it is on a list. It is one of the fastest growing plants known. A small patch doubles in a fortnight, and a mat covering a waterway blocks the light, strips the oxygen out of the water underneath, and kills the fish below it. It is on the federal noxious weed list, which puts it in a different category from everything you have heard so far. What actually happens to you is real. Moving a federally listed noxious weed across state lines without a permit is a federal matter, not a county letter, and states including Florida, California, and Texas prohibit possession outright. 12. The calorie pear. And here is where I have to slow you down, because this is the one that shows you what banned actually means in America. The white flowering tree planted along 10,000 suburban streets. Bradford is a cultivar of it. It was sold for decades as the perfect street tree, and it does exactly what it was promised to do for about 20 years, and then it splits apart in a storm because of how the limbs are joined. Here is why it is on a list. It was supposed to be sterile. It was not. Different cultivars cross-pollinate with each other. The fruit gets eaten by birds, and the seedlings come up in old fields and forest edges as thorny thickets that puncture tractor tires. Ohio made it illegal to plant, grow, or sell in 2023. Pennsylvania added it to the noxious weed list. South Carolina followed. New Jersey included it in a 30-species act. Illinois and Michigan take effect in 2028. Missouri in 2029. Massachusetts is running phase-out deadlines right now. So here is the honest truth, and I respect you too much to dress it up. Every one of those laws bans the sale. New Jersey said it in plain language when the act passed. Homeowners do not have to remove anything from their yards because the law targets future sales, not existing landscapes. That is what banned means for most of this list. Not handcuffs. A tree you cannot buy anymore. Number 11. Kudzu. The vine covering the trees along southern roadsides, swallowing barns and telegraph poles under a smooth green blanket, growing up to 1 foot a day in high summer. Here is why it is on a list. It shades out everything underneath and pulls down what it climbs. It is on the federal noxious weed list. And here is the part worth sitting with. The government put it there. The Soil Conservation Service promoted it hard through the 1930s for erosion control, and farmers were paid by the acre to plant it. What actually happens to you is a control order in states where it is listed. The country planted it deliberately, and now you can be told to remove it. But before we get to the top 10, there is something about all of this that most people never stop to realize. Almost nothing on this list is a crime. Go back over everything so far. A sales ban with a 4-year phase-in, a cultivar swap the nurseries agreed to, a control order from a county office. In nearly every case, the consequence is that a plant leaves the shelves, and the one already in your garden stays exactly where it is. There are exceptions, and they are all near the top of this list. A short federal register, a quarantine program, and a handful of plants where possession itself is the offense. So stop worrying about the shrub by the fence. Everything that can genuinely land on you is still coming. Number 10. Giant hogweed. 15 feet tall, hollow, purple-blotched stems as thick as your wrist, and a white flower head the size of a dustbin lid. It looks like cow parsley scaled up to something prehistoric, and it was planted in America as an ornamental curiosity. Here is why it is on a list. The sap causes severe burns, but only once sunlight hits the skin, so people brush past it and feel nothing for hours. Then blistering and scarring that lasts years. In the eyes, it can blind. What actually happens to you is that it is a federal noxious weed, and most states with it require reporting. Do not cut it, do not trim it, do not touch it. Number 9. Hydrilla. A submerged aquarium plant, fine whorls of small-toothed leaves on brittle stems. It reached American waters through the aquarium trade, dumped from tanks into ponds. Here is why it is on a list. A single fragment on a boat trailer starts a new infestation, and it forms mats dense enough to stop an outboard motor. What actually happens to you is federal. Possessing or moving it is prohibited nationwide. Number 8. Giant salvinia. A small floating fern with paired oval leaves covered in fine white hairs, sold for water gardens. Here is why it is on a list. It doubles in days and builds mats several feet thick that suffocate everything under them. What actually happens to you is the same as hydrilla. Federal noxious weed, and possession is prohibited. 7. Tree of heaven. The fast weed tree in the alley, in the vacant lot, coming up hard against the back of the garage. Long compound leaves like a sumac, growing several feet a year in poor ground where nothing else bothers. Crush a leaf and it smells genuinely bad, somewhere between peanut butter and something rotting. Here is why it is on a list. It poisons the ground around itself against competitors, it seeds prolifically, and it is the preferred host of the spotted lanternfly. Pennsylvania and Massachusetts listed as a noxious weed, and many other states have followed. What actually happens to you is a control order in listed states, and a practical trap that catches nearly everyone. Cut it down, and you make it worse. It suckers from the roots, hard, and one tree becomes 20. 6. The black currant. A fruit bush. Not an ornamental, not an escape, not a weed. A currant bush in the kitchen garden. Here is why it is on a list, and it is the strangest story on this list. Currants and gooseberries are the alternate host of white pine blister rust, and the fungus cannot spread pine to pine without them. In 1911, the federal government made it illegal to grow any ribes in America because the timber industry was worth more than the fruit. Then it sent crews to remove them. At one point in the 1930s, there were over 11,000 men pulling currant bushes out of the ground. The federal ban was lifted in 1966, and the states took over. At least 17 still restrict them. New Hampshire, North Carolina, and West Virginia ban the whole genus statewide. Delaware, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Rhode Island run permit systems. In Maine, it is illegal to plant or even possess European black currant anywhere in the state. What actually happens to you is that nurseries simply will not ship to your address, and most people never learn why. 5. Peyote. A small blue-green button cactus with no spines, native to South Texas and northern Mexico. It takes many years to reach flowering size. Here is why it is on a list. It is a Schedule I controlled substance. What actually happens to you is federal, and there is one narrow exemption, which covers religious use by members of the Native American Church. 4. Anything with a patent number on the tag. Not a species this time. A category, and it is the one that catches ordinary gardeners doing something they would never guess was unlawful. Here is what nobody tells you at the till. Under the Plant Patent Act, a new variety propagated by cutting or graft can be patented for 20 years, and during that window, nobody may reproduce it without a license. Not commercially, at all. Take a cutting of your own patented rose, root it, and hand it over the fence to a neighbor, and you have infringed a patent. Divide a patented hosta between two beds, and technically, you have done it again. Honeycrisp is the famous example. The University of Minnesota held the patent, and it earned the university a great deal of money until it expired in 2008. What actually happens to you is nothing, realistically, for one plant over a fence. Nobody is auditing your borders. But nurseries do get sued, and it is worth knowing which side of the line you are standing on. Here is how to check. Look at the plastic tag that came with the plant, or the one still shoved in the pot at the back of the shed. It will say asexual propagation prohibited, or carry the letters PP and a number. That number is a patent, and that patent has a clock on it. 3. Citrus. A lemon tree in a pot on the patio. The most ordinary thing in this entire video. Here is why it is on a list. Citrus greening, spread by a small insect called the Asian citrus psyllid. There is no cure. An infected tree produces bitter, half-green fruit, and then it dies, and the disease has done catastrophic damage to the Florida industry. So there is a federal quarantine. You cannot move citrus plants across state lines, and within California, Florida, and Texas, there are quarantine zones with rules about moving trees and sometimes fruit. What actually happens to you is that your order gets refused. Nurseries will not ship citrus into most states, and the tree you carried home from a holiday in Florida is exactly how this spreads. Number 2, the opium poppy. And this is the one that quietly catches the most people, because you can buy the seed legally in America from a catalog this afternoon. Papaver somniferum. Gray-green foliage, a single papery flower in white or pink or deep purple, and then a fat blue-gray seed pod that dries to a pepper pot on a stiff stem. It is in cottage garden seed mixes. It is sold as bread seed poppy, and as Hungarian blue, and as a named ornamental with a pretty English name. It self-seeds along garden paths and comes back for decades in old borders. Here is the honest truth, and I respect you too much to dress it up. That plant is the source of opium, and cultivating it is prohibited under federal law, regardless of what you intend to do with it. The seed itself is legal, sold for food and for baking, entirely lawfully. The plant that grows from the seed is not. What actually happens to you is, in practice, almost always nothing at all. Nobody is walking gardens counting poppies, and enforcement has centered on people who were doing rather more than admiring the flower. But the gap between the seed being legal and the plant not being legal is real, and almost nobody selling it explains that to you. And here is what I want you to take from it. The most likely law you are breaking in your garden right now is not the exotic one. It is the pretty gray-green flower somebody's grandmother grew. 1. And it is the answer everybody shouts before the video starts. Cannabis. Ask anyone in America to name an illegal crop, and this is the word. It has been the single most famous prohibited plant in this country for the better part of a century. Here is the truth that turns this whole video around. It is now the one plant on this entire list where the answer depends completely on where you are standing. Most states have legalized it in some form, many allow home growing within a plant count, and it remains a Schedule I controlled substance under federal law at the same time. Both of those things are true simultaneously. Fame is not the same thing as prohibition. The plant everyone names is the one where the law is moving fastest and varies the most, while a white flowering street tree that nobody thinks about at all is genuinely banned outright in 3 states, with 5 more phasing in. So here is your final test, and it is the same one every item tonight was teaching. Do not ask whether a plant is legal in America. Ask what your state's noxious weed list says, and what your county says on top of that. Because there is no national garden, and there is no national list. There are 50 of them, and they disagree. Everything on this video was sold to somebody by somebody, legally, at the time. And almost every rule here exists because a plant got out of a garden exactly like yours. If this made you want to go and look up your own state's list, do me one small thing and like the video. It tells me to keep making these. And if you are not subscribed, that is where the next one lives. Then tell me down in the comments, which one of these is growing in your garden right now? I read every single one. One last thing, and I mean it. I am not a lawyer. These rules change every year, and the only list that governs you is your own state's. Look it up before you plant, not after.